You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
Welcome to another episode of our series talking about handmade, historical handmade, and how it changed up until today. We'll be talking about another handmade technique that you can meet in Poland. Enjoy!
Welcome to another episode of our series that talks about handmade that used to be in the past and how it transformed today. Today I have Zuzanna Kuzdęba, who is a wianczarka for you. She's a head wreath maker from Wągrowiec. She was introduced by Karolina from our team, and you can find the original episode on Monday's release in Polish version. So who is really a wianczarka? As Zuzia said, she always imagined that wianczarka is a woman who makes wreaths. She came across this name for the second time in one of Miłoszewski's dramas, and it turned out that such a name actually exists in Polish. So wianczarki are women who pass on history by means of dancing, singing, and I think that this name just stuck to her mind and rooted not only in Zuzia's mind, but also in our culture. So how did her passion begin? Well, passion? What youth used to do, age remembers. Her mom is a pharmacist, so she used to walk around the fields looking at what is what and what to pick and when, what to use the plants for, what not to touch or what to touch. So her passion kind of started through her mother. That was a passion for plants. And how did it happen that plants appear in her life in the form of wreaths? Earlier, they appeared in the form of bouquets. She used to make them and sell with her sister and cousins to make money for the amusement parks that came to her hometown. She lived in Skoki, so when all those amusement parks came, they sold flowers to earn money for that. There were 5 of them, so plenty of hands to weave. And now she's on her own. Her cousins like her posts, but the wreaths she weaves, she does it on her own. Actually, her first wreath that she started making and selling date back around 4 years old. It was a time that she moved here and gained place to work because she wanted to decorate her home. So 4 years ago, she actually went back to this passion from childhood. How does it work? Weaving wreaths, the whole process. How does it require a lot of space? What does it require? Well, as Zuzia admitted, it requires a lot of space. At the moment, she's using her attic, and that's around 50 square meters. That's where she dries plants and work. But eventually, there will be a studio. She's planning atelier in this utility building of hers next to the house. And there, she said she's going to be able to work because drying plants, at least for now, will work best in the attic. But then she's going to have a space for that. How about the ventilation in that case, you might ask? Well, the ventilation is really important. It's hot and dark, and that's what plant needs to keep their colors. In order to keep a nice color of the plants, high temperature and just the right amount of light are needed. The darker, the better for drying. When she was asked to describe the whole process from the moment she sees the flower up to the point where the wreath is ready, she said that before she sees a flower, she reads about it. She owns those little plant books dating back to the 70s, written by Delfina Grajówna, with hand-painted figures. There are beautiful old books that she looked through as a child, more often than through breakfast books, for example, with all those rhymes we remember. So they kind of naturally grew into her mind. Reading and seeing the flower in the book, she could imagine how it will look in the wreath, but often she cannot imagine what will happen when she starts drying it. So she has a lot of let's cut it and dry it stories, because not everything will work after drying. Of course, today she also takes a great deal of knowledge from the internet, from sites such as Pinterest, sites of people involved in the cultivation of perennials or dried plants. She keeps on learning about new plants, because not everything can be picked and dried with your own hands like yourself. Sometimes it's nice to buy plants from people who cultivate them and know how to prepare them. Yeah, she's going back to the question later on. So she has the flowers and then she takes them to the attic. She picks the flower, cleans it, leaves the part that are ultimately interesting for her. So if there are leaves on the same stem, she picks them, like altogether left with some stems, leaves, and flower head on the stem. If the leaves are nice, she tries to dry them as well. But sometimes they look very nice after drying, and then they keep the really nice form, so she kind of keeps the leaves as well. She combines the flowers into little bouquets so they can breathe, and she hangs them. And as before she said, she dries them in the attic. She just hangs them upside down in this attic. How long does it take to dry such flowers? Zuzia admits that it depends on the temperature and weather. It can take a few days, and if the weather is nasty, it can go wrong altogether. But this summer, as Zuzia admitted, is pretty wet, so it's not really good for drying. Literally 3 or 4 days ago, as she mentioned in the interview, she was almost crying in the attic because it was heavily raining for 2 days, and it turned out that the roof is leaking in some places, and it was really damp. And she was really worried about that, everything, all her hard work could just go all moldy. Fortunately, the next day, the sun came out and it saved the situation. There is a method for plants that dry crooked. You need to treat them with steam and let it soak in a little bit. So actually, it's sometimes good to moisten the plant a little bit before you kind of let them to be dry, so they won't be so fragile. So sometimes this rain really helps, right? If they are fragile, they are more difficult to work with and they can really easily break. So whenever she's dealing with a delicate plant like, lavender or any other plant like that, she thinks she's really good to put them outside for the night or let them just soak in the moisture from the air. And then it's going to be really easier to arrange after drying. So, as she said, the flower hangs in the attic, and once it's dry, it just goes to the basket called wreath compositions. Because before she starts weaving, she invents the theme of each wreath, and then she divides the plants into groups, and only then she starts composing. And how long does it take to make such a wreath? She says it's about from the moment when everything is dry and ready, the process of composing alone lasts up to 4 hours. It certainly isn't an assembly line kind of work. and she is able to make maximum 3 or 4 wreaths a day. But she says it's really time-consuming work. You'll need a whole day. So professionally, she's involved in language learning, and vacations are the time when she doesn't work. And this is her second activity. So holiday time is a really great time for her wreath making. When asking Zuzia, Karolina asked her when she has plans and wants to make wreath, whether there's going to be some kind of base necessary. As Karolina mentioned, when she would like to make a wreath, would she need a kind of base? And what Zuzia answered, that she will kind of show her during the presentation. So I really encourage you to see all the pictures that we have in our blog post dedicated to those interviews. But as Zuzia said, she starts with choosing the base. For example, with straw bases, she doesn't make them herself, although she could, but it would be definitely it would extend the working time. So she's taking the ready straw wreaths. They could be bought anywhere, online or at flower markets. So the straw wreath and a bind wire, something to put it all together, are a totally enough base for the composition, and it's only the matter of the imagination of the artist. So Zuzia, she made her first wreaths using baby's birth flowers, right? And she could even use it she wanted to change it every year. She could add some elements to it, right? Last year, she was using wreaths using sea lavender, and it was a kind of plant that was cultivated for florist purposes, often use long-lasting bouquets. So she knew that it's gonna long last. And this year at spring, she made wreaths that could be in such a way that there would be a lot of hay at home. So she varies her wreaths, and it really depends on the materials that she could use and the overall inspiration or overall idea that she wants to put out in this wreath. So when asked where does the inspiration come from, she said that this process of composition starts in her head, and truth to be told, it always keeps her eyes open. Her husband fears for her because she pays more attention to the side of the road when, going somewhere or riding a car than to the, road itself. Because there are especially places sides of the rows that she takes inspiration from. She always has some clippers and bags and a box of plants in her car, because she always finds those inspiring plants along the way. When asked whether she makes also wedding wreaths or decorations, she said that they are rather better made of living plants. So if someone has such a request and it would have to be a living flower, that person would have to be a close friend for her to make her make it. Living flowers are just not her thing. She wouldn't be sure how to arrange them, so she said it's better to be left to a florist. She also thinks that dried wedding wreaths don't bring luck. There is this supposition in Poland, so maybe there's something to it, right? But recently she saw one of her wreaths, this white one, in a beautiful pregnancy photo shoot shot by her friend. So I think those wreaths can kind of slip into this, wedding or kids photography field. When we have flowers in the creative sphere, but do we need something from the technical side? Karolina asked and Justyna asked Zuzia about this more hard technical things that you need to make those wreaths. Well, Zuzia said that things that you need are just the base, some wire, clippers, and bouquets of dried flowers to obviously attach them. Right? Sometimes you could also need some hot glue that you can maybe use to attach some flowers, and sometimes you can garnish the wreath beautifully with some decoration, like weaving elements or something like that. She doesn't use this method a lot because she thinks that then elements can break easily. And she quitted this hot glue method long ago. Sometimes you will also need some burn ointment because, well, the hot glue is really hot, and plasters and also feeding or watering person. In her case, her husband, right? Because that's something to remember of if you're making those wreaths for a couple of hours. She admitted that she could get so fixated on, making them that she kind of forgets that, eating, drinking is a vital part of her work tools. And one important question, is it hard to preserve those wreaths to make them look really great longer? And Zuzia said that since painting is also one of her interests, she knows that anti-UV varnish will do a great job. So here's just how she treats her with this varnish, like those wreaths. This varnish, she admits that it won't let the plants fade. Other than that, she said it's not good to hang those wreaths in direct sun, unless you really want them to fade, right? Some people like when they fade, and that's okay. But in other cases, you should choose a place away from direct sunlight, inside the house, and somewhere not outside. Dried flowers shouldn't be exposed to moisture. Her mom found out about it a few times because she necessarily wants a front door wreath. So she told her mom, okay, I will make you one, but it will look good for 2 weeks. And she's like, well, then you'll make a new one. Fine. Yeah, and Zuzia admitted she also doesn't paint the plants. They act naturally over time and fade a little. But the most important colors are the ones that form the wreath itself, and they should stay for a long time. I definitely invite you to think about this tradition and modernity. What traditional method did she change for the modern to make her work easier? And as she admitted, the modern ways of composing of a wreath are definitely the bases that she talked about earlier, like ready-made bases. You don't have to make them yourself because sometimes even a machine can do it for you. They just collect the straw and convert it to wreaths of different thickness and diameter. So that's something that really makes her work easier than in the olden days. And the one thing that she also mentions earlier is this hot glue gun, this method of gluing things into the wreath itself. So she said that's something that she would find as a modern thing in opposition to traditional wreaths. Zuzia also admitted some words about workshops and how she could teach how to make a wreath. But I kind of keep you with this information in our article. So I'll send you to that place. And I deeply invite you to try it out for yourself. As you see, this process might seem a long-lasting, really time-consuming, but it turns out is not quantum physics. It's really easy to try it out on your own. So I deeply invite you to check out the pictures on our webpage and try out wreathmaking as well. See you in the next episode.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.